Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. We're going to explain a beautiful movie starring the one and only Kate Winslet, Wayne Phoenix's priest. An extremely beautiful girl, Rebecca Palmer. The movie is based on Napoleonic era. So without wasting time, let's begin. The film opens with Marquis d'Ade, a renowned writer known for his provocative tales. Despite their popularity, people read his works in secrecy, said in Paris. In 1790, for the authorities harshly opposed such literature and free-thinking individuals, a woman faces punishment for her independent actions and relationships. She lived freely, and Marquis observed her punishment. Years later, we find Marquis confined in Schonel Mental Asylum, imprisoned for his writings. The intent was to prevent him from continuing his controversial works. We then meet Meline, a laundry girl. At the asylum, Meline visits Maris's cell and subtly signals him. He hands her a few pages of a new story hidden within the linens. She carefully conceals the papers. As she leaves, Calara, the head priest and caretaker of the asylum, is seen interacting with the inmates. Meanwhile, Meline approaches the main gate and discreetly passes the pages to a man waiting outside. This man publishes Marquis' stories. Subsequently, we see his books being sold, eagerly read by many. The scene shifts to King Napoleon, whose minister reads a Marquis story, criticizing its vulgarity. Napoleon orders Marquis' execution, but the minister argues it might increase his notoriety. The minister then consults physician Royer Collard. He is skilled in inflicting pain. The minister informs him about the Marquis and Napoleon's scheme. We observe Calara teaching Meline, guiding her in comprehending and writing phrases. There seems to be strong chemistry between Meline and Collier. In the next scene, Meline reads the Maris's story to her friends, who become aroused by the tales. One of the girls feels repulsed by the stories. Meline asks her to leave as the others are enjoying them. The following morning, Meline is seen delivering fresh linens to the inmates. When she reaches the Marquis' cell, he invites her in. Since Meline has the keys, she enters. The cell is adorned with artwork inspired by these fantasies. Meline then gives the Marquis money collected from the sale of his books. The Marquis is in love with Meline and asks her to sit, as he has written a personal story for her. However, the story comes with a condition: a kiss for each page. She complies, kissing him for each page, but then he grabs her and gives her a French kiss. Meanwhile, Calara approaches the cell, but the Marquis continues, enjoying the exchange of pages. For the climax, the Marquis asks her to sit on his lap. He then tries to touch her inappropriately, but she slaps him and takes all the pages. Calara arrives at that moment. Later, Collard arrives at the asylum. He tells Calara that Napoleon is concerned about one of the inmates. Calara tries to assure him that the Marquis has changed. Card inquires about the Marquis' activities and shows him a book published by the Marquis. Cir is shocked to see it. Card demands that he control the Marquis, or else Napoleon will shut down the asylum. Kala informs him that he will no longer be allowed to publish any books. Mary attempts to persuade him to cease writing these stories. The Marquis agrees, which pleases Collard. Next, Collard visits an orphanage and offers to adopt a beautiful girl. She happily goes home with him, but at night he tears her clothes and abuses her violently. We see a thirst for revenge in her eyes. Later, two boys recount the Marquis' story to the girl. She becomes very excited and urges them not to stop. The following evening, Dr. Collard and others visit an asylum to watch a performance by the inmates. The Maris has prepared a play that reenacts the abuse suffered by the orphan girl at the hands of Collard. This enrages Collard, causing him to leave the show. In anger, Khmer then goes to the Maris's cell and confiscates all his writing materials, intending to make him stop writing. The Maris is deeply upset and feels empty without his quills, and ink. His wife visits Collard, demanding that he either cure the Marquis or punish him severely. The Marquis devises a plan. He uses chicken bones and red wine to write on his bed sheet. Meline copies the story onto paper and smuggles it outside. Dr. Collard grows suspicious and instructs Kala to monitor the Marquis closely. Cal removes everything from the Marquis' cell, including his chair. Meanwhile, Dr. Card's wife is seen at the market purchasing one of the Marquis' books, revealing that she is a fan who regularly reads his stories. Marquis shatters a mirror and uses his blood to write stories on his clothes. He asks Meline to open the door. She enters, sees his work, and becomes happy, kissing him. Later, he joins the other inmates in the dining room. Called orders his men to beat him and lock him in his cell. Calara enters the cell and takes away Maris's clothes. Meanwhile, Meline is punished for unlocking his cell. Ca intervenes to save her, causing Meline to develop feelings for him, Sarah. Then questions Meline about why she reads Maris's controversial stories. She explains that her life has been devoid of joy, and his stories bring color to it. She imagines herself in the tales, playing the parts. Elsewhere, the doctor's wife flirts with a workman, showing him Mars' book filled with paintings, expressing a desire to experience the same, but needing a teacher at midnight. Meline, addicted to Maris' stories, becomes anxious. She sneaks into Cal's room, though he is a priest, and has suppressed desires. She challenges him, kissing him. He momentarily loses control and kisses her back before pushing her away, citing his devotion to God. The next morning, Kalir tries to explain himself, but Madeline is angry. Meanwhile, Card's wife is seen with the workman. They plan to escape together. She makes him write a farewell note to Collard before they resume playing games. She leaves with him, leaving the note behind. Card discovers the note and the book she read, leading him to start torturing Marcus. After the torture, Marquis is placed under maximum security. C sends Meline far away to separate her from Maris. Meline visits Marquis one last time and requests a final story. He agrees to dictate it that night. At night, Marquis dictates the story to his new cellmate, who passes it on to the next inmate, continuing until it reaches Meline. However, during this process, an inmate uses a candle to set a bed sheet on fire. The fire alarms everyone, leading to the unlocking of doors and ensuing chaos. Kay rescues a girl being abused by inmates. Meanwhile, Brusso captures Meline, preventing her escape. CA searches for her, but can't find her until he reaches the laundry room, where he sees blood everywhere. He discovers that Brusso has brutally killed Meline and drowned her body. In response, Collard and Kalir cut out Maris his tongue to prevent him from telling any more tales. Khmeri approaches Mine's lifeless body and removes her dress. He hallucinates that she is still alive and begins to play games with her. A statue of Christ weeps tears of blood, snapping him out of his hallucination. Later, he visits Maris's cell, where the walls are covered with Maris's writings. Calara prays for him as Marcus takes his final breath. Months pass, and Dr. Collard is now in charge of the asylum. A new caretaker arrives, and under Card's strict training, the inmates work mechanically printing books for his prophet. Collard shows the caretaker the inmates who are still confined, including Kala, who desperately begs for quills and paper. Madeline's mother provides Cal with the writing materials, and he begins to write in her honor. This movie ends at a sad note. So friends, that's all in today's video. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, peace out.